So this is a bit different, and I'll give you all a basic concept of what we're trying to do. We're sort of well on our way to doing this. I had mentioned earlier that my background is in computational cognitive science, cognitive neuroscience, and so forth and so on. And I got very, very interested in lying. There's a book that I sort of wrote that has chapters on the neuroscience of lying and so forth, and how it works in the brain. But that led me to this project that we're on right now. The idea is that Wikipedia is sort of the truth. The internet court of lies is too, except bringing truth to fiat lies. And the book is really about fiat lying. A fiat lie is a lie where dialogue is infeasible for any reason. This is human natural language dialogue, where natural language is defined as the language a normal baby learns to speak. It turns out the brain is wired in such a way that out of our neocortex, we lie. In fact, that's a property of how the neocortex works. And then language is sort of a window on that, but it's a communication scheme that God gave us for communicating what goes on in our neocortexes. And so we're all doomed with lying, and we're doomed in the sense that if we can lie in a way that nobody can question us, or that people are not questioning the lies, then the lies can be very harmful. So historically, and this was developed in the age of reason about 400 years ago, you could sort of prove that you can neutralize the harmful effect of fiat lies by enforced dialogue, which is a court. So in courts, as we know, the modern courts, the rules of evidence for court were developed about 400 years ago. And so what we're trying to do is we want to see if we can provide a neutralizing force on the internet for fiat lies. And of course, by definition, a broadcast is sort of a way of fiat lying because people can't engage you in dialogue if you're just broadcasting the stuff out or printing the stuff and pasting it on billboards and so forth and so on. So the Internet Court of Lies is a private court, and it only tries fiat lies in the media. The court does not try people. This is a difficult concept for most people to realize, that they get people courts confused with courts that just try lies. But I'll try to get y'all up on this, and then we really believe that Wikimedia is the right place to do this for many reasons. So we define a lie as not. We define it the same way that the legal system defines it, which is it's not the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. The reason we define it that way is this is a set theoretic definition of lies against one term, which is truth. The linguistics behind lie have implicators around the notion of deceit. So it's something that's not true, not the whole truth, or not nothing but the truth where deceit is involved. And there may or may not be an intention to deceive. For example, if you're just replaying somebody else's lie, you might not have intended for the deceit. You might not have intended to be lying, but so it may not be the case that the lie that appears in a specific place in the media, that the author of that lie actually intended the deceit, even though there was a deceit there. And then there's always a motivation, which is, again, an implicator on a lie, which is that there's a reason that the person or the lie is put out. And the question is how do you get dialogue brought back into this so that we can have a way of judging or judging the underlying content for a lie in order to neutralize its harmful effect. So, and by the way, this neutralization of harmful effect is really was heavily involved with the Age of Reason and the so, for example, also the modern science, which requires the ability to replicate a finding, is also a case where truth that can be confirmed by somebody else is truth in fact, and truth that cannot be confirmed by somebody else is not truth in fact, and so forth and so on. So we did a wiki text, a pure wiki text version, which is up on ICoL right now in December. We call that the Manual 1 edition of the Internet Court of Lies, and it is outright not scalable. We can't actually run it as a court because it involves too much manual activity by different people to communicate with different people or to get it to work. So what we're doing right now is we're automating the workflow, and we're using page forms, and we're very, very interested in other things that we can do using existing tools that are developed in MediaWiki. But we're currently underway on a Manual 2 edition of the Internet Court of Lies, which is really automating the workflow. And that's to take this thing from being a completely non-scalable system to a scalable system. And we're also going to begin sales to people or organizations that will pay to have certain lies investigated by the court. So like any court, there are lots of cases that come to the court and so forth and so on. But it turns out that if all you're trying are the lies and not people, you should have three needed roles. One is the plaintiff, which is the person who's asserting that here's a lie that's appeared in the media, or a set of lies, or a class of lies that's appeared in the media, and here's the proof that these are lies, and this is my verdict on what I'd like to see other people discuss as to what I think the deceit and the intention and the motivation was on these lies. And then there's a judge who basically oversees the enforced dialogue. And one of the main functions of the judge is to actually set up a docket that basically says this is when the trial will start, this will be the settlement, this is when it will end, and I will write the final decision in the form of a verdict that I believe is the verdict for the court. And then there are jurors who view the evidence in the plaintiff's pleading and so forth and so on. And then they each develop their own ideas about what their desired verdict is. And then there has to be a place where the judge and the juror and plaintiff can engage in some dialogue, whether it be just written or spoken. So the system that we're setting up is a system where people are paid to be judges and jurors, and there's an optional mechanism where people can be paid to be plaintiffs. So we're setting up a system that is not just a volunteer system. It's a system where if you become a member of the court, you can get selected as a judge or a juror. The workflow automation we're doing involves that selection process. It involves having a judge permit a case to appear based on a plaintiff pleading. And then what we're really doing ultimately is we want to scale this to the level that we can become a source for, my background is also in natural language understanding systems and AI, where our data can become a rich source for content curation decisions by social media, but it can also become a mechanism for teaching AI systems how to lie and how to recognize lies and so forth and so on. Today, we really don't have big data sets that allow AI systems to do much else other than to tell the truth really well or understand the truth really well. We have virtually no data sets that are suitable for teaching systems how to lie or how to understand lies or recognize lies and recognize deceit, intention, and motivation. And so another real reason for this Internet Court of Lies is to be able to fund building the data sets that can then be licensed to various consumers of those data sets. So the court management system can be used by basically any 16-year-old or plus in most countries. A member can be a plaintiff, a judge, or a juror. There are two types of suits, and this is a big deal. One is called an individual suit, which is submitted by a plaintiff to an individual suit judge. And the second type is a class action suit, which is submitted by an individual suit judge to a class action suit judge. So you can have many individual suits joined into a single class action suit, which is where a class is really defined by, well, what kind of lie is it? Okay, well, it could be a lie about I don't know how Congress works. So you can make it up. You could say a lie about grapes, a lie about baseball. Okay, make up any sort of class that you want to make up. So expect, or we're trying to create a system that can be automated and handle a very, very large number of cases. The responsibilities for the three roles of the plaintiff brings the suit, pays the filing and adjudication fee, or their court fees, proposes a verdict, and the plaintiff has the burden of evidentiary proof. The Internet Court of Lies is not a fact checker. It's a means by which people can propose fact checking and then have it adjudicated by some other independent people who could say, yeah, we agree that this was probably a lie, and here's sort of our version of the verdict. And then the judge can say, well, this suits version of the verdict. And we're going to be licensing the use of the case logs for content curation decisions, social and other media, as well as the AI stuff that I mentioned. So what we're working on right now is going to what we call the Manual 2 edition of the Court of Lies. And the areas that we are trying to figure out how to build within the MediaWiki framework is something that modern publishing systems do a lot of, which is it needs to be able to support paid user members, paid we call truth tokens, which are truth token is basically you're paying the court fees for a kind of lie. So, for example, if you're a famous person, you could say, I don't know, pick a famous person, Nancy Pelosi. You could say she could file buy 10 truth tokens to have 10 suits filed on lies against her about what she said. Just make it up. You could almost anything you can think of as a collection of lies. And then those fees actually pay the judges and the jurors, and some of these things can pay plaintiffs as well. We also want to automate the workflow, and that's so right now we're just wiki text and everything is manual. And we need to manage the plaintiff, the judges, and the jurors. So we want to have a business, which is a very small number of people that are managing a very large number of other people and paying them. Okay. And so what we're working on right now is using email and text to coordinate activities with essentially links back to the website with in email or text, so that we're really not reading email. We're just looking at responses that are made by people based on a solicitation to say, well, we need to do this at this time. The judge says that, and so forth and so on.
You have 10 minutes left.
Yeah. The other thing that we're doing is we're very much believe that this particular system, the base case management system, is just a handful of tables in a SQL database, and so we're very strongly leaning toward cargo as and obviously page forms is a means to do this. And the way we're actually doing this is we have limited money to hire people to do things, but we're also wanting them to discount what they're doing for us because we don't have a lot of money. So we're not billionaires. We want to do, we're making a truth token offer, which is we can give a royalty paying truth token package to developers who help us. So, for example, you can name the lies you want investigated by plaintiffs and then be a part of the court so that you help create. So we're looking for developers that can help us build this system. And then if they can give us discounts on what they're doing, then we can give you a chance to participate in the future royalty stream for a successful implementation of this thing. So tomorrow and the next day, we're probably going to suggest 2 Craig Camp sessions. One is the for the Manual 2 edition of ICoL, the sort of plaintiff filing, judge and juror decisions, to show you exactly how what a court case looks like and what we need to happen in terms of the workflow to work that. And then also there's the automated workflow design, and also just looking for implementations out there, enhancements on page forms and so forth that might help us automate some of this workflow design stuff. So that's sort of it. Oh, by the way, I wanted to thank Mark Hirschberger for having, I was desperate for a Wikimedia wizard back in November, and Mark's helped us pull this together and actually let us know about this conference and so forth and so on. So I really appreciate that.
Awesome, thank you. Do we have any questions for Bob? All right, Peter.
Yeah, which aspects would be public and visible on Wiki and which couldn't be?
So the way this works is if you are a member and i.e. a user, then you can see all the court cases. In fact, in the initial phases of this, the way we're going to sort of train up judges is if you've never been a judge before, there's going to be 2 judges on a case. And so, and there'll be rule, but anyway, so the right answer is that the community we're building will be people who are members that have attempted to be plaintiffs, for example, maybe judges and jurors, but the membership will have full visibility into the data sets. So all the cases will be open. And then if you're not a member, then you don't see. And then what you see is but we are granting a publishing right to anybody who is a member who wants to publish results of cases and so forth and so on that came to the court. And then we're also dedicated to being a source for Wikipedia, encyclopedia kind of articles on the types of lies that we see out there. So since we have this notion of a class of lies, we fully expect that as this thing builds, we'll be able to build an encyclopedia of lies. The current Wikipedia entries on lies really reflect the fact that there are no good, for example, discussions of human lying out there. There really isn't. In fact, the best books I know on it are by Al Franken. One joke that we have is that I've got with some of the faculty over at CMU is that if I'm a candidate for a PhD and I say I want to study lying, my advisor will say, find another subject.
All right. Do we have any other questions? Bill? Oh, wait, Bill went away. Brian has a question.
Yeah, just a quick.
Systems and this is a big area in AI. Most of them are trained on Wikipedia. So that's a standard training set for if you come up with a natural language system that's supposed to know about the world, they'll train on Wikipedia because Wikipedia is a reliable source of truth. We want to be a training source that allows for conversations to happen, for machines to become intelligent in conversing with people, because people basically lie all the time. And it's really hard for the AI systems that just know truth to know when somebody's lying, or how to lie to them in such a way that they seem to be friendly and so forth and so on. So in my book, I'll let you know there are a lot of good lies. So most folk tales are good lies. Fiction is a whole class of good lies. Lies come in both good and bad flavors. And so we see that that's one area. The other one is in content curation. So if you're a Facebook or whatever, and you want to know whether to curate some content, we become an independent source for data that they can apply policies against for automatically curating content, so that we stop seeing things like what we saw at the beginning of this conference, of somebody reporting a violation and then YouTube deciding that must be a violation. What you'd like to have is independent bodies that can. So we expect that the suits that we're doing will take no more than 2 physical weeks and only a few hours of anybody's time. So this is not these lawsuits are not lawsuits in the sense of taking 4 or 5 years or even a month, but which a typical judge docket would say, we're going to start this next Monday, and the Monday after that, we're going to end it. Or the Monday after that, we're going to end it. Okay? And we'll reach settlement. In law, this is called defeasibility. Okay, so we'll have we have certain improvements over existing courts in terms of defeasibility, and then we're not quite as good at defeasibility as a sovereign court can be. That takes many years.
We are out of time, but thank you very much, Bob, and we can continue the discussion in breaks or in the Create Camp.
We're going to try for 2 sessions. We'll see.
Excellent.
Awesome.